American troops in the snows of Bosnia, the Senate moving slowly toward approving their mission. I talked to the president on the eve of his Paris peace mission. New rules for the troubled commuter airline industry, much tougher safety standards, which will be expensive. On In Depth tonight, the Whitewater Swamp. After lengthy and expensive hearings, the water still is very murky. Tonight, a seasonal fleecing of America, what you should know about all those charities that want your money this time of the year.
From NBC News, this is NBC Nightly News with Tom Brokaw.
Good evening. President Clinton is heading to Paris tonight for the signing of the Bosnia peace agreement, the most auspicious foreign policy achievement of his administration, and in many ways the most dangerous, for it requires 20,000 American troops on duty between the warring parties to keep the peace. The Senate has been debating the wisdom of sending the American troops all day long. It is expected to pass later a lukewarm resolution approving the mission. That means the president will leave for Paris from Andrews Air Force Base on Air Force One without the Senate resolution. But he has said this deal will go forward with or without congressional approval. Today at the White House, I talked at length with the president about the prospect for peace and the risks of American troops in Bosnia. We met in the Roosevelt Room, dressed for the season, and we began on the prospects for a lasting peace. If we keep the peace for a year, do you believe in your heart and in your mind that once we leave, that they just won't be back at it once again in a very short period of time?
I do believe that, because that is, I believe the likelihood is that they will not return to war for the following reasons. Number one, they're very tired of war, or they would never have agreed to the peace in the first place. Number two, Serbia is essential to the war going on, and Serbia wants the economic sanctions lifted. If they violate this peace agreement at any time in the future, the sanctions will go back on. Next, Croatia and Bosnia want some economic benefits of peace and want to be integrated with the West economically. That won't happen if the war returns.
If war does flare up again, as many experts believe that it will, does that mean that the United States will be going back into the Balkans after a year's time?
Not into a war. You know, for 3 years, I refused to commit our troops in the war. But almost from the beginning of my presidency, I said I thought we should be a part of preserving a peace agreement if a peace could be kept. I do not believe that the United States or NATO should be involved in a ground war in Bosnia.
As Ronald Reagan learned in Beirut, as the people of Sarajevo have learned, it only takes one shell or one bomb to do a lot of damage.
That's right.
If a concentration of U.S. troops does, God forbid, get hit, will you be able to hold the line? Because there will be cries at home, bring them back right now.
I think this is different from Lebanon, and I've given a lot of thought to that. First of all, to be fair to our troops, I think that they have trained for this mission. They have learned a lot from what happened in Lebanon. They are doing what they can, as they have in every mission since Lebanon, to protect against a repeat of that development.
Older veterans especially have said to me, look, other presidents define Vietnam as being in our national interest. Bill Clinton avoided that. It makes it very hard for me to sign on to his description of a national interest in Bosnia. Do you understand where they're coming from, their resentment in some cases?
I do, but we have to look at these things. First of all, let's look at what's happened in the last 50 years. After World War II was over, we realized that we couldn't wait until the very existence of the United States was hanging fire to commit any military power, especially with the communist threat. So we set up NATO in Europe. We've avoided a world war for 50 years. And we've had arguments at every turn, in Korea, in Vietnam, in Lebanon, in Panama, you name it. Sometimes we've made some mistakes and we've paid for them, but at every turn we have tried to do what was right to advance freedom.
Mr. President, you're Commander-in-Chief. You've sent these young men and young women to a very hostile place at a special time of the year. As Commander-in-Chief, will you be going to Bosnia during the holidays?
I want to go there. I want to express my solidarity with our troops, but I don't want to do something that our commanders say will actually interfere with their deployment.
More of my conversation with the President later on NBC News In Depth tonight. The Whitewater scandal. Secret files, a Senate subpoena. Are the Clintons hiding something? We'll have an in-depth investigation and more of that interview with the President still ahead here on NBC Nightly News. On the ground in Bosnia, the advance guard of American troops are finding firsthand that this is hostile terrain. The guns may be silent, but as NBC's Mike Betcher tells us tonight, the weather is another kind of enemy.
The approach to Tuzla was even more dangerous today. Besides the potential threat of surface-to-air missiles, NATO pilots have had to fight fog, low clouds, and today almost a foot of new snow.
A lot more snow than what I thought there'd be.
The runway was cleared in an hour, but low visibility again today lowered expectations. Only 8 of 16 scheduled flights managed to touch down in Tuzla.
In that unique military language, the Army says it's trying to accomplish throughput, which means they're trying to build up this base to put through as much equipment as possible.
So with the work, the cold, and the snow, there was little concern about the much-talked-about vote in Washington.
The President's the Commander-in-Chief. I will follow his orders as I have been commissioned to do.
Those orders, as NBC reported Monday, have placed high-ranking U.S. officers dressed in civilian clothes on the front lines.
We have been very impressed with the way that your Army has grown from nothing into a powerful force.
Today, the Bosnian Army released videotape of the Americans visiting Bosnian bases near Kalisia. They're shaking hands, but warning that they can twist arms. The immediate concern, though, remains base building, not peace enforcement.
To date, we have contracted for the building of 35 three-hole latrines.
And $40,000 worth of gravel, sand, and bread. Already, America's presence is being felt here without a single tank. Mike Betcher, NBC News, Tuzla.
When NBC Nightly News continues, news back at home. New rules to make those commuter airlines safer. And still ahead tonight, are some of those holiday charities really part of the fleecing of America?
From the scheme, I got $340,000, which I used on personal entertainment, going out to dinners, bars.
It's the season to let the giver beware.
As you know, Kellogg's is the raisin brand that tastes so good, people forget it's good for them.
I didn't forget.
Forget what?
That it tastes good.
No, people forget Kellogg's Raisin Bran is good for you.
How could they forget? With all these raisins, of course they taste good.
No, good for you, for you.
Wouldn't it be great if it was also good for you?
Huh? Save up to $7 on the Star Wars trilogy from Kellogg's Raisin Bran. Star Wars, the original version on video, one last time.
Presenting the newest Black & Decker Dustbuster and Morgan the Butler. With twice the power as before, this Dustbuster will pick up practically anything around the house. Morgan, the newest Dustbuster. More power, more pickups.
Why just give a gift when you can give your heart? Why just decorate when you can deck the halls? Cool Whip has 2 grams of fat. 2 merry little grams. So why live a little when you can live a lot? Why just make dessert when you can make magic with Cool Whip topping off a Mrs. Smith's pie?
So, what'd you have in mind? Barbara?
Well, just a little off the top. Plump, delicious Sunsweet pitted prunes. Sunsweet. Always a sweet idea.
Outside of this box of Russell Stover candies, life has changed in the last 70 years. But inside, very little has changed. We're still using our time-honored recipes and only the finest ingredients. That's why we can guarantee freshness and home-fashioned goodness in every piece. Nobody does chocolate like Russell Stover does chocolate.
Big changes tonight for commuter airlines in America. After a number of deadly accidents, the government may have found a way to make them safer. The new rules will be announced tomorrow, but NBC's Robert Hager has learned the details tonight. And they could have a dramatic impact on this booming business.
The sweeping new government rules will force commuter lines to upgrade safety standards overnight to match those of major airlines. And NBC News has learned that in addition, the government will take steps to combat pilot fatigue. Instead of simply limiting hours in flight, It'll propose the first ever limits on the total length of the workday, so it'll count time spent on the ground as well, between flights or during delays. That goes for both pilots of big planes and small. But the new steps may cost commuter lines more than $100 million. Aviation consultant Michael Boyes.
It'll be devastating. Some commuters may go out of business, and other commuters will have to stop serving smaller communities. It's going to be devastating.
But not everyone is that pessimistic. The new rules come after the crash of a commuter plane near Raleigh, North Carolina last year. Now, even the smallest planes would be required to install expensive new safety gear and would be forced to hire more ground people, so pilots wouldn't have to do their own rushed weather and fuel checks at small airports. As for pilot fatigue, it became an issue after this plane crashed trying to land at Guantanamo Bay for refueling. Its pilots had been working nearly 24 hours straight. When researchers later wired up pilots on passenger flights, they found some actually falling asleep while they were flying. The proposal would be designed to prevent long workdays and permit pilots to get a good night's sleep. But both the new pilot workday and commuter safety rules would cost money and put pressure on ticket prices. Still, the government thinks it'd cost less than $1 a ticket. Well worth it to save lives. Robert Hager, NBC News, Washington.
We have major health news for you tonight. Doctors have discovered the first emergency treatment for strokes. Injection of a drug called TPA immediately following a stroke has been found to help prevent brain damage that can result in paralysis or speech problems. Right now, strokes are the #1 cause of disability in this country. For a week now, police have been looking for the killer of two gay rights activists from Oregon. The women were found shot to death in the back of their pickup truck last week. Well, today, a 27-year-old man was arrested in connection with those brutal murders. 12 days before Christmas, and there's some devastating holiday news tonight for workers at Kimberly-Clark. The big paper maker is laying off about 6,000 people this month. That's one day after shareholders bought Scott Paper for $9 billion. It was another record-breaking day on Wall Street, the Dow closing above 5,200 for the first time ever. Trading was very heavy today. The NASDAQ was up as well. When we come back, NBC News in depth. Whitewater, the scandal that's heating up again. How much trouble for the White House? Some answers from the president in our exclusive interview.
Hyperkeratosis? Symptom: persistent, itchy, flaky scalp. Solution: Neutrogena T-Gel. It works. Neutrogena T-Gel Shampoo.
The fact that dairy foods and my stomach don't agree won't keep me from enjoying every bite of ice cream. I just take New Lactate Extra Strength. It has 50% more of the natural ingredient that helps me digest dairy.
New Lactate Extra Strength for the love of dairy.
Today, let's make an easy scratch pie. Easy? We'll show them easy. Just unfold, fill, and bake.
Tender, flaky pie crust is easy with Pillsbury refrigerated pie crust.
It's as easy as...
How much closer are our precision heads? Our innovative lift-in cut system? How much better is the latest Norelco? In a word, we've never brought you closer. The Norelco Razor, our closest shave ever.
What are you sending?
It's for Carlos.
In California?
It's a book about maturity.
He can't buy a book about maturity.
AT&T True Reach Savings saves you 25% on all kinds of U.S. calls on your AT&T phone bill when you spend just $25 a month.
Even 2,000 miles away, Jimmy. Privacy? I'm gonna call you day and night, every hour.
Every hour? True Reach Savings. That's your true choice, AT&T.
I can't believe we're eating a prune. We are. Sweet, moist, delicious. You're changing our mind. I always do.
California prunes. Let your mouth make your mind up.
You've had soup with mushrooms, but have you tasted mushrooms? With rice, but have you tasted rice? Flavor comes to life in New Campbell's Country Mushroom Rice Soup. Taste the flavors of all the good things in it. New Campbell's Country Mushroom Rice, where taste comes to life.
Oh, wonder if they still fit. So far, so good.
Part of having a great look.
Whoa, good. It's an understatement.
Is keeping it.
And Kellogg's Special K can help. It's like love. Great toasted taste, just 110 calories and fat-free. I look like a teenager. I look like a rock star. Kellogg's Special K. Great taste never looks so good. Too bad I can't sing.
Tomorrow on Today, a special health report with Dr. Art Uline. Flu and measles shots. What you need to know to keep your family healthy. See what a difference today makes tomorrow.
NBC News in depth tonight. Whitewater, the Arkansas real estate scandal that's dogged the Clintons the entire time they've been in Washington. It's back, and it's heating up with a legal standoff between a special Senate investigating committee and the President of the United States. The committee is scheduled to vote tomorrow to enforce a subpoena for documents the White House is refusing to turn over. Where is all of this leading? We begin our in-depth reporting tonight with NBC's Lisa Myers.
After 24 days of testimony, the Senate Whitewater hearings may best be remembered not for what was said, but for what was not.
I can't recollect specifically.
I don't recall what I was doing.
I do not remember the conversation.
Hillary Clinton's chief of staff, Maggie Williams, invoked some version of I don't recall at least 140 times.
It would seem to this senator that you have deliberately decided not to recollect.
What I recall is what I recall.
Susan Thomas, a New York lawyer and powerful friend of Hillary Clinton, didn't remember at least 70 times.
You have no memory at all of who you might have spoken to for 11 minutes that morning?
No, I don't.
While there is no proof of any wrongdoing, it just, doesn't look good. To Republicans, it smells like a cover-up. And White House defiance of a congressional subpoena and rampant memory lapses only make the odor worse. Much of the recent intrigue focuses on what happened 2 years ago, in the hours right after White House counsel Vince Foster committed suicide in this park. Foster was a trusted and longtime friend of the Clintons from Arkansas and handled some of their most private legal matters. To investigate the suicide, the Justice Department thought White House counsel Bernard Nussbaum had agreed to let them search Foster's office and files. But the next day, June 22nd, Nussbaum suddenly reversed himself. The question, why? Phone records that day leading up to the decision raise even more questions. 7:44 a.m., Maggie Williams, remember she's Hillary Clinton's chief of staff, calls the First Lady in Little Rock. 7:57, Mrs. Clinton calls her friend Susan Thomas's. 8:01, Thomas's pages Nussbaum. Everyone agrees they then discuss the search of Foster's office. 8:25, Thomas's calls Mrs. Clinton's number in Little Rock. 9 o'clock, Thomas's leaves a message for Williams. About 10 o'clock, Nussbaum reneges on his agreement with Justice. The search is off. Between 10:48 and 11:54, Thomas's makes 3 more calls to Williams' office and 3 more to the office where Nussbaum and senior aides are discussing what to do. After another 3 calls between the White House and Little Rock, Nussbaum himself begins sifting through Foster's papers. Justice investigators watch but are blocked from actually seeing any of the documents. Nussbaum insists it was his decision alone.
I did not speak to the President or the First Lady about this matter, nor did Susan Thomas's or anyone else convey a message to me from either of them.
However, in a sworn deposition, a White House lawyer said Nussbaum did in fact tell him that both Thomas's and the First Lady may have been concerned about anyone having unfettered access to Mr. Foster's office.
The flurry of phone calls clearly shows that Mrs. Clinton was not happy with the Justice Department reviewing Vince Foster's files.
To the committee's dogged Republican chairman, the conclusion is obvious.
There was an attempt by the administration to thwart this investigation.
But if that's true, why? What is in those files the Clintons do not want anyone to see?
The American people will never know really what was in there.
In fact, after Nussbaum sorted the Clinton files, Maggie Williams removed a box of them. No record was ever made of what was in that box. We do know that Foster worried about tax problems the Clintons might have from their Whitewater land deal in Arkansas, and had information on the Clintons' dealings with a failed Arkansas savings and loan. Democrats admit the White House could have handled things better, but
in the sense of any deliberate effort to obstruct or impede things, I don't see that.
Still, there is that odor. After saying he would not hamper the committee, President Clinton now refuses to turn over certain documents, saying they are confidential between him and his lawyers. Lisa Myers, NBC News, the Capitol.
Today at the White House, I asked the president why he wouldn't just hand over all the notes from his lawyers' meetings on Whitewater if he has nothing to hide. Mr. President, you're on a roll. Your approval numbers are up. You've wrestled the Republicans to a draw so far on the budget. You've made what many people believe is the historically correct move in sending troops to Bosnia and getting a peace agreement there. Why would you want something like the Whitewater Notes to cloud your reputation now in the closing days of 1995 as you go into an election year?
I don't. But I'd like to point out what's at issue here. The issue of the notes is a way to get the President of the United States to waive any confidential conversations he may ever have with his lawyers who work for the government and his private lawyers. And I believe that even the President ought to have a right to a confidential conversation with his minister, his doctor, or his lawyer. I believe that. We have turned over more than 50,000 pages of documents. We have made all the White House staff available to testify about their conduct, including lawyers, talked about their conduct. We have seen over $20 million in public money spent on looking into this matter. We have done everything we could do, and I will continue to do it.
And you're not going to invoke executive privilege?
Only insofar as it relates to the government's lawyers and their work. I have not invoked anything like the executive privilege that President Nixon invoked and that many other presidents have invoked in terms of their conversation with people working for the president. I'm interested in whether we can preserve the right of the president to have confidential conversations with his lawyers. That's the only issue here.
One of those in the meetings with the president's lawyers was Bruce Lindsay. He's a close friend of the Clintons. He is a lawyer, but he's a White House official. He's not a personal lawyer for the Clintons, so the question remains whether he can be forced to testify. When we come back, phony charities that take your money and run. Another part of the fleecing of America.
Finally, great popcorn from your microwave.
Power Pop.
Presto Power Pop Microwave Multi-Popper.
Power Pop.
Pops virtually every kernel. Pop with oil, pop without oil. Nothing pops like Power Pop. That's why it's endorsed by Orville Redenbacher.
Power Pop.
From Presto.
Salad shooter helps you every day.
How about some cheese for your pizza or perfect salad shooter hash browns for breakfast? Vegetables sliced or shredded, and nothing tops a salad like
Salad shooter.
Slicer Shredder from Presto.
Helps you every day.
Pam, look. Phillips has gel caps. Gentle overnight relief in a little gel cap. This is just the thing for your constipation, honey.
Even has a stool softener, huh, Brenda?
Phillips has gel caps.
I could have sent the money Western Union. Did you really need the money today? Just tell me. If you had told me you needed the money really fast, I would have sent it.
If you didn't send the money Western Union, did you really send the money?
Just tell them to wait.
Western Union, the fastest way to send money worldwide.
No, I didn't send the money Western Union, but I figured, what's the difference? 601.
If you didn't send the money Western Union, did you really send the money?
Sorry it didn't get there, but I wouldn't worry.
Western Union, the fastest way to send money worldwide.
These vegetables are about to be perfectly steamed, like food has never been steamed before, in the Black & Decker Handy Steamer. Because deliciously steamed food requires perfect timing.
When I was young, Mom was always making sure I ate right.
It wasn't always easy.
Well, now we're listening to our doctors and taking better care of our health with Ensure.
Ensure is recommended #1 by doctors as a source of complete balanced nutrition.
More than a vitamin supplement, Ensure has all the nutrients adults need to help stay healthy, active, be energetic.
Drink Ensure as a meal.
Or in between, Ensure. To your health, Mom.
To our health.
Ensure, recommended #1 by doctors.
Hi, honey. This is Jack. I know I said that I wasn't ready yet. I just want you to know that I was wrong. I love you.
I can't seem to forget you. I just can't seem to forget you. Your windsong stays on my mind.
Windsong Perfume by Prince Machiavelli. Dateline tonight. Donna Rice. She was at the center of the scandal that brought down the presidential candidate. Now she's back in the news again, and her new crusade may surprise you. Dateline tonight at 8/7 Central.
Time now for our regular Wednesday feature, The Fleecing of America. With the holidays just around the corner, it is the season when many people's thoughts turn to the less fortunate. And Americans can be very generous, giving a total of $130 billion a year to charity. But while some are giving. We found others who are mostly taking that money and running. NBC's Mike Jensen explains how you can avoid being caught up in this example of the fleecing of America.
It's the season of giving. Volunteers of America, Santas, and the Salvation Army on nearly every corner, collecting for good causes. But it's also the season to get ripped off.
What should you be especially careful of before you make a contribution?
You should look at the sign over the kettle before you give.
And if you don't recognize it, don't give?
Absolutely not.
Otherwise, you may join hundreds of thousands of victims fleeced. Almost $1.5 billion will be scammed by con artists this year in more than 1,000 phony charities.
Nothing is sacred. In Pennsylvania, Father Francis Bolick and another Catholic priest solicited almost $1 million from 4,000 people, gifts ranging from a few dollars to more than 100,000, supposedly for a shrine. Instead, the priest bought jewelry, Cadillacs, houses in Florida, and more.
From the scheme, I got $340,000, which I used on personal entertainment, going out to dinners, bars, on trips, all over the country and some abroad.
Elaine Sincata gave $100.
I just feel so sorry for all the worthy causes that are out there.
Both priests pleaded guilty of fraud and face up to 5 years in prison. In Rhode Island, an accused scammer set up these vending machines, supposedly to raise money for the National Federation of the Blind, even putting a machine at police headquarters. The charity is legitimate, and he denies the charges. Authorities said he pocketed an estimated $240 a week. Even if true, that's small change. The former chief fundraiser of the American Parkinson Disease Association, Frank Williams, was arrested and charged with embezzling almost $900,000 in charitable contributions, allegedly fleecing small donors and Fortune 500 corporations.
Watch the door.
He says he did it because he was underpaid at $112,000 a year.
There is nothing wrong with giving money to this charity. It just so happened that the guy at the top was sticking his hand into the pot, and there's no way to protect against that.
But there are things you can do to protect yourself. Experts say give only to charities you know. Beware of phone solicitors. Avoid using credit cards. And if possible, write out a check so you'll have a record. Otherwise, your big heart may make you a victim of the fleecing of America. Mike Jensen, NBC News, New York.
That's nightly news for Wednesday. Don't forget Dateline NBC tonight on at a special earlier time tonight at 8, 7 Central. Tomorrow, the signing of the Bosnian Peace Treaty. We'll have full coverage on today. I'll be with the U.S. troops in Frankfurt, Germany tomorrow night for NBC Nightly News as they prepare to go into Bosnia. I'll see you from there tomorrow night. I'll see you from Bosnia beginning Friday throughout the weekend and into next week. For now, good night for all of us at NBC News.
If you see something that you think is part of the fleecing of America, we want to hear about it. You can write to us at The Fleecing of America, NBC Nightly News, 30 Rockefeller Plaza, New York, New York, 10112. Or email us at fleecing@nbc.com.
Watching the NBC Nightly News with Tom Brokaw. NBC News, now more than ever.
Their son